Hey, y'all. It's your host, Jasmin Haley of the Legacy Speaker Show. And today's guest is Jordan Guyton. Jordan is a social media content expert and curated community building genius. She is the owner of Vera Jean Media. She partners with companies who serve small business owners to teach them how to use social media content to amplify and monetize their offers online. After starting her business from scratch, okay, down in the trenches, y'all, in 2020. Jordan has generated multiple six figures in the business and has grown her Instagram audience to 88,000 plus amazing humans. Her true passion is helping small business owners and creators showcase their authentic self through their content to make more money online. Jordan has been someone that I've followed for quite some time and randomly connected with online. So I knew that there was going to be some point in time we would collaborate. And here she is. And I'm so very grateful that you're here today on the show.
Yay! I'm so excited to be here. I'm excited for this conversation. It's going to be magic. It's going to be good.
Absolutely. Absolutely. One of the things that I appreciate about following you on social is how consistent you are about the content that you share. I know exactly what it is that you do. And so for the listeners here, many of them are business owners. They may be professionals. We have a few leaders that are listening, right? But they're all looking to leverage their voice and they're all looking to leverage your story and they're all looking to share their message through speaking and training. So I would just love to know why you decided to center on this part of business in 2020. Why this area? Why is it of importance for us and the listeners to be aware of it as well?
Yeah, great question. So I think for me in 2020, if we could set the stage of when I started my business, it was in the height of the pandemic. And coming from 10 years of being in TV and entertainment, I was in casting, production. I used to work for the Maury show. So all the baby mama drama DNA stuff, like that was my life for a long time. Content, like it was just my bread and butter. I also was in front of the camera. And with the pandemic, we were all forced to sit down, right? And I found myself collecting unemployment. And my business initially started with creating content for essential businesses that were open at the time. And so that was jerk chicken spots in Harlem. That was the grocery store down the street. Like that's all I could create content for. But money was coming in the door for them. And I thought from there, okay, I know how to tell stories. I know how to pull the best out of people, hence getting people to run off stage at the Maury show. Like if I could do that, right, I can pull your story out of you so that you can call in the people that you're called to serve. So I think that, marketing has just evolved over the years in the sweet spot that we're in, especially, due to the pandemic and due to COVID, we're a lot more on our phones. We're a lot more influenced by social media. And I think I just got in at the right time. Definitely a download for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that. And I think that at some points in time, we have to pivot. We got to go where the work is. So that's a vital lesson there, a vital business lesson and life lesson.
Yeah.
Really. And it's sometimes when we are looking at leveraging our voice and sharing our message, pivots will have to happen.
Absolutely.
And what I think is really important for people to understand is that if you're looking to grow a business organically, a huge part of your visibility piece is the content that you put out and being intentional with that. So I would love to know, like, as you started growing your own business, as you're looking at, what your business is going to represent, how did content play a role in that?
I mean, content changed the game for me. Content changed my life. Content changed my business. Content was what helped me initially start to qualify the right people to work with me. I think, content does a lot of the heavy lifting up front so that, those of you that do discovery calls or sales calls or clarity calls, whatever the case is, it kind of clears the deck before someone gets to you. Content is a great way to just position yourself as the expert. Immediately once you start to get consistent or you go live, you're putting yourself essentially on a stage. And it's something that a lot of people want to do, but many don't. So that's already, built-in expertise there as well. And then I think, we're digesting so much content on a daily basis that it's so important to make sure your content is infused with you so that your light shines for the people that are meant to see it. I think that's kind of the biggest piece when it comes to just that content thing, and not just, buying, and there's nothing against it, but just buying random packages and just hoping that it's going to work, or going on Canva, not changing or dusting yourself all over it, right? It's like there has to be some sort of sprinkle of you in it. And that's what will change the game for your business.
Yes. And let me just rewind that tune, as they say for Caribbean people. One of the things that you said was it's a stage. And so what I have to help people understand a lot of is, like, when I talk about speaking and training, it's beyond just keynotes. You have multiple stages that you can leverage. It could be in the form of what I'm doing right now, podcasts. It could be hosting your own event. It could be through the content that you're sharing on social. But again, it does the heavy lifting for you. And it could also put you in front of the right type of people that are looking to hire people who are speakers and trainers, right? It's just about the way that you leverage it. So I'm curious to know, like, with the clients that you've worked with and what you've kind of seen along your own journey, what are some of the myths that are holding them back from leveraging, their content?
Yeah, great question. I mean, I think the way that I teach is a lot from experience and just lessons that I've learned or been through. And then I see a lot of it just reflected in my clients. One of those things is definitely overthinking. I think we're just so much more in our heads and think that people care way more than they actually do. I get so many questions of like, how do I announce that I'm changing directions or that I'm doing something? Like, I don't know. Like, what if? And it's just like, you're really overthinking it. Like, they really do not care. Just post it, right? I think that's one thing. I think imposter syndrome is something that's really big when it comes to sharing your expertise and putting yourself out there. A lot of times people think you have to be at a 10 to teach and coach or pour or help others. And, I always say if you're at a 2, you can teach somebody at a 1, you could teach somebody at a 0. And I think a lot of times that imposter syndrome of like, I have to be better than where I'm at right now, instead of meeting people where you're at and teaching them up. So imposter syndrome, I think we make content and social media harder than it needs to be. You don't need to be on every single platform. You don't need to be jumping and dancing. If that's not your ministry, you don't have to do that. You don't have to be on Snapchat, Clubhouse, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. Like, it's exhausting, right? So lean into, 1 or 2 platforms or 1 or 2 strategies. Get that going, right? And pour gas on that fire before we start to, build other things. But I think those are some of the common things I see with small business owners, and just getting consistent or even just getting started.
Yeah. I really like the fact that you pointed out, like, you can choose 1 to 2 and post there consistently. And consistency doesn't always have to mean daily.
No.
Am I correct? Okay.
No,
it doesn't, because I surely don't. There's right now we're actually scheduling, but there's times where I'm like, I don't feel like doing it right now. That's the season that I'm in as a parent, as a wife, and just, my life outside of my business is really important for me. I want to sustain that. I love my clients and the work that I do, but sometimes you just got to give yourself grace in the fact that you may not always get it 100% right.
No, that's real. Yeah. I mean, you bring up a good point about, consistency. And that's one thing I talk about a lot. Everyone's consistency is different. I always say it's your frequency, and we get told on social that you need to post every day or multiple times a day. And again, that is not my ministry at all. If you can find a sweet spot of like minimum 2 to 3 posts a week, that gives you about 10 to 12 posts a month. That's doable if you're running a business and you're looking to generate sales, right? I think we focus more on quality over the quantity of our posts.
Yeah. And one of the things I want to emphasize is, in the speakers that we coach, many of them have gained their stages in multiple different ways. You have relationships, you could work the B2B corporate route where you're dealing with organizations with 100 plus employees. You have smaller associations. Like, the sky's the limit on how you can leverage your visibility. But one of the ways, which is what we're emphasizing here today and why we've invited Jordan, is content. That's one. It doesn't mean that it's your way, right? Because there are speakers and trainers I know closing 7-figure contracts and they're never on social media.
Never.
But for those of you who are considering your specific industry and knowing that your people hang out on social media, right? Maybe your people aren't there, but maybe they are. I would love to know, like, some of your thoughts in regards to content and how it can expand your visibility if your clientele or who it is that you want to reach are on social media.
I mean, I think with content and social media, when you're consistent and you tap into your own consistency, you stay pretty top of mind, right? I heard a stat that only 1% of people post on LinkedIn consistently. So there's a lot of room to position yourself as a thought leader in that space. There's a lot of room to be seen by buyers. There's a lot of room to be the educator or the expert. And again, I think it goes back to that overthinking of, what are they going to say? What if no one shows up? What if no one's going to show up? I want to go ahead and clear the deck right now. At the very beginning, it's going to be straight crickets. It's going to be a lot of works, and that's okay. Like, it's social media is a long game. Content strategy is a long game. But I think business is too. Entrepreneurship is too. So if you can get past, like, I always think about, when you cut your hair really short and then you go through like that ugly phase where or your eyebrows, they wax too much of your eyebrows off and you're like, this is trash. There is that season with your content where you just got to throw a scarf on, or you just got to chill. Because if you can withstand like that crunchy season, there's fruit on the other side. There's a planting season that has to happen. You have to sow those seeds with your content first before the harvest actually happens.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. And I talk about sowing seed a lot with speaking. But just to go back to, like, I love that you said that, because when I first started in my business, and that was 7 years ago, when I look at the videos and like the social media that I was putting out and like the lighting was jacked up, like I forgot to, like, right now, I forgot to put my light on. All right. I don't care. This is still going out.
Absolutely.
Right. Like, the key of it was that I kept going. I kept moving forward. I kept moving forward. Like, and that's the part that I feel like people don't understand, that entrepreneurship is a mental, I feel like it's a physical and a spiritual journey.
Absolutely.
And you have to get used to really walking by faith. Like, you are not going to see but a few steps, a few feet, if even, ahead of you. Right. And the only way you can get to the other side is if you keep moving forward. Absolutely. And I love that you shared that. And we can take that same thinking when it comes to our content.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's a lot of crunchiness, especially when you're trying like new things or going live or just things that are not natural. Like, it's like we're all not built to be on camera or to show up on camera or do, like, but you can learn, right? And you can build muscle. And you're right. It's just a matter of like letting the crunchy moments happen and then saying, okay, next. And you get to a point, like Jasmin said, my light's not even on. Like, you get to a point where you're like, okay, like, I'm not about to start over. Like, the light is on. Y'all see my face more. Like, it just gets to a point where it's not even that serious anymore.
It really isn't. It really isn't. And it can't, and it's not going to affect the transformation.
It's not.
It really is not. Now, the way you construct your messaging, right? If you're jumbling all over the place, yes. But having the latest gear, having the perfect marketing material, it does not. So I wanted to tap into one more final thing before we get to our final question. And it's just, I want to talk a little bit of how you leveraging content has led to opportunities for you.
Sure.
Because I think it's important for people to know that when it's consistent, when it's of value, right? And when you have clarity, that's another key point here, then it allows other companies, other businesses, other event organizers to be interested in partnering with you and your leadership.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to make it easy, right? Like you have to make it easy for brands, businesses, partnerships, collabs for them to say yes, right? And I think that process is very intentional. When I think about the majority of the partnerships and the deals that I've gotten, it's been because I've built a relationship through intentionally sharing about the things that I love, or the brands that I use, or the companies or the platforms that I pay monthly for years, right? So I think it's like when it comes to like that collaboration and that partnership, that clarity is it's such a key word, right? Like, why? Is it just the money? Why do we want, is it exposure? Why do we want this partnership? Why do we want this collaboration? What is the goal behind it, right? And I think if that posture of your heart and intention is there, those brands, because this is not the first collaboration. They know, they be knowing, like they know who they want with, and they want you for a very long time. Then wait for a year, and I'm like, and y'all now just cut me a check, and I done posted like 6 times about y'all. Like it's a process, and it goes back to that long game of like you have to stay in it. You have to plant the seeds. You know, they see you, they like the post, they say, "Oh, thanks for reposting." But you don't know a year later. And it's same with clients, right? A no is we think these no's are, or not right nows are no's. And sometimes these not right nows are not right now, right? It's not right now. We don't need you right now in this org, or we don't need this keynote. We don't need this talk right now. But guess who's top of mind due to their content, due to their consistency, right? And so we have to start treating a lot of those not right nows as exactly what they are. Right? Not at this time. That's for me for sure.
Oh, that's such a valuable gem right there, because you had mentioned like they followed you. The people who sparked an interest in your work were following you for a period of time before they initiated a partnership. And I have seen that work for myself as well. When I started working with some billion-dollar companies, right? $1 million companies, it doesn't matter. We're talking about larger corporations besides the smaller ones.
Correct.
Every single time I interacted with them, and when I did and landed the deal, they had been following me for some time. And so your content and what you put out there is really building a relationship.
Yep.
Prior to the actual relationship starting, I remember one corporate entity, they invited me over to do training to learn about their products and services. And that's what led me to becoming a key opinion leader, or almost like an ambassador for a company. So they would pay you to speak, right? Or they would support your events and sponsor your events. But anyway, when I was having conversation with the person that was a decision maker, the first thing he stated was, "I've actually been listening to your podcast." I'm like, and sometimes I'm talking about really crazy stuff.
Absolutely. And he's binging every episode. I bet he was.
Exactly. But guess what? I was 100% myself, but I wasn't cray, but I was 100% myself. So I love how you added those gems of being authentically who you are, showing up consistently, providing value, giving towards those companies you would love to partner with without anything in return. You know, and that takes patience. And again, going back to being faith-based in the actions that you're taking, right? You're strategic, you're intentional, but you're doing it with heart. You will be able to reap the benefits.
Absolutely. I mean, it's already on your heart. You've already seen it, right? And now the world is just has to catch up, right?
Yes.
It's those dreams and that heart and that vision, it's there. If you can see it and feel it, it's there. But again, time, the world, all of that has to catch up to that. So are you going to stay in it, or are you going to let it go?
Right. Oh, I love it. All right. So here's our last question. Our last question is, what was the very best advice you've ever been given in your business? It can be related to content or just business in general.
Best advice. This is a good question. I mean, I don't know if this is what I can give you is nobody knows what they're doing. It's true. Like, I think that is the best advice. I think the moments where I start to think about needing to have it all together and like needing to hire this person and have all this and all the systems, nobody knows what they're doing. We're all just making it up as we go. And sometimes it works, and then sometimes it doesn't. And then you take this as a lesson. And then if this works, then you keep going along the path. And I really think that's what business is. And it's, you gotta enjoy the journey, because the destination, I don't even know what it's gonna be. So you have to enjoy it.
Facts. That's all I gotta say. All right, Jordan, let everyone know where they can find your awesome content.
Yeah, so Instagram and also LinkedIn has been my playground as of recently. So you can find me both at Jordan Guyton, JourdanGuyton.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. I truly appreciate your time today.
Thanks, Jasmin.
All right, y'all. This was such a great reminder, even for me, as I was thinking about some of the work that I've been doing. I'm like, have I recently given a shout out and really thank the companies that have had a major impact in my business growth? Just because, I've done it, but haven't been sort of intentional. And I also really started thinking about, when we were talking with Jordan, is my content reflective of what my brand and what I want my message to reflect. And so that's my takeaway for each of you, is to think about, as you're showing up on social media, or as you're showing up in your own newsletter, as you're showing up in even, physical rooms, right? The way that you're displaying yourself, the messaging that you're sharing is in alignment with how you want your business to be represented, is in alignment of how you want your name spoken inside of the rooms that you may not be present. All right. And if you're interested in learning more about content development, make sure that you follow Jordan. And if you found value, if you found some gems in our discussion today, please leave us a review. It helps the Legacy Speaker Show not be a best kept secret. It allows others to find the valuable content that we've been able to share with the wonderful guests, but also really leverage speaking and training and refine their business strategy so that they can go out there and continue to scale their legacy. All right, y'all. I'll see you next time.